All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today I just want to go into this article from Morning Star. And the headline reads, CND to protest return of nuclear missiles to Britain. So I'm just going to go into this article and bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And it says, protests will take place across Britain on Saturday against the return of U.S. nuclear missiles to Britain. The Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, or CND, has condemned the return of such weapons to RAF Lakenheath, which is used by the U.S. Air Force, and has called on supporters to join a day of action against this extremely dangerous and destabilizing development. Cruise missiles were removed from RAF Greenham Common in 1991. The department was hailed as a huge victory for Greenham Common women who had maintained female-only camps at the base since 1981. Among the targets on Saturday will be the U.S. Information Gathering Base at Menwith Hill in Yorkshire. More protests are expected when the nuclear missiles arrive. Nonetheless, Labor's shadow defense Secretary John Healey will be in Washington this week to discuss plans for increasing military cooperation with the U.S., which will supposedly help protect our democratic values, political institutions, elections, and open societies, and not only collectively monitor threats and share best practices, but also advise on action and develop new strategies, including military operational responses to counter them. So yes, pretty much the U.S. is going to put missiles back over there in Great Britain, and they're protesting against it because they were removed in, the early 90s, but now they're trying to return them because ultimately, this is, a move toward, World War III, because as we know, this war is ultimately going to be between Russia and the United States, but Russia is going to win this Third World War, So I'm going to start in the book of Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy, and again the waster to destroy, and that instrument for his work are those ICBM missiles, The Lord gave Esau Edom this technology, ultimately so he can take himself out. Because that was Esau Edom's blessing, the sword. And it's not limited, just to, physical, or actual swords or firearms. Is ultimately, these missiles, the sword is even, him pretty much doing anything to try to take us out, So I'm going to jump to the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6. And it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So yes, we're pretty much in, the midst of World War III coming to pass. But before this war and his destruction can take place, the prophecy of, the mark of the beast coming to pass, which is the Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, which is, the RFID, micro CHIP, the mark of the beast has to be made mandatory before that final prophecy, before our Lord returns, comes to pass, because ultimately those are the main prophecies, that have to, that are going to take place in these last days, the mark of the beast being implemented, the time of Jacob's trouble, World War III, and simultaneously with World War III, the second coming of our Lord Yahushai, because pretty much, although World War III is going to be between the United States and Russia, ultimately, those that are gathered together, these other nations, they're going to stop fighting each other to ultimately try to fight against the Lord, but it's not going to work. They're going to be destroyed. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, and verse 9. It says, Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Slack you. Assemble yourselves, and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither, cause thy mighty ones. Slack you. Thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. And yes, it's pretty much going into World War III, because that's what those nations are going to do. They're going to stop fighting each other to try to go to war with our Lord Yahushai, but they're going to die. They're going to be destroyed. I don't want to bring that out. It's like, yeah. Here's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13. And verse 8. Well, it's lucky. I'm going to start at verse 5, and it says, After this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain, and flew upon it. It's talking about that fathership, that our Lord is going to come back on. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, but I could not. Esdras thought, there was an actual mountain, that was removed, but, it wasn't. That was that huge fathership that our Lord is going to come back on. This is the point, verse 8. After this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And yes, it's going into, those laser beams that are going to be coming out of that chariot, excuse me. And the Lord is pretty much going to vaporize, these other nations, going to take them down, But again, the point I want to make is that, this is the time we're living in, the time of World War III, the time of the second coming of our Lord, that's all, we're in the last days, where these things are going to take place, hopefully, it happens soon. But again, this is pretty much what these nations are gearing up for. So those people can protest that they don't want nuclear missiles in Britain, but ultimately they're going to be there, because it's just, another strategy, for the war. Because ultimately I wouldn't be surprised if, those same missiles that the U.S. is putting over there in Britain are the same missiles that Great Britain shoots back at America and destroys her, or helps destroy her, So I'm going to end it on this book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 16. And it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." So yes, Britain is one of America's allies, But ultimately, every nation that America is allies with, ultimately they're going to turn on America, and they're going to shoot their missiles over here, Because ultimately, the main one leading the charge is going to be Russia, Ultimately, we know it's going to be, our Lord Yahweh Shai, but under our Lord, it's going to be Russia that is going to, destroy Babylon the Great, So those people can protest all they want, but those missiles are there until it's time for them to be used. So that's pretty much it, Let's make this quick. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say you, Shalom.